Discovering the extraordinary and the ordinary. Making dreams a reality.
It's not a quick fix.
It's for life. It's for life. It's for life.
Thobela ra le dumedisha lenanegong la rena la It's for Life e shishite e tlhoka fela batho ba ileng gore ba ka e gama di-missionaries e le bona badumedi ga ba etla mo Africa ba tlile ba swere Bible ba re go rena ba re a re rapeleng ga re phapara ba tšere lefase rena re šetse ka monna melomo e mekhibido e le yona Bible ao ke mantswe a Desmond Tutu go dira tšintši ka lefase la borena ke na le tshepo ya gore wena o swanetse ke go tseba gore go diragetseng history e bopa setšhaba sa borena ka ntle le yona re dio ba mafelafela ao ke mantswe a Dr. Martin Luther King pele nka go rerela e re ke fologe platformo ke le tsebiše Mapula, Mabel le yena Melisa latlhelela bofofu. Thobela mo re leng gona ke ditlamorago tša mo re tšwang gona history e re rometše gona mpa na la e tseba history ya Afrika Borwa go sa tsebe history ya gago o swana le letlakala le le tšwileng mo setlhareng le ebela thaskarena ya mathomo ke nyaka le nyakišiše ka history ya Afrika Borwa a borokgwa pele ba tšea karolo ba rena ba ragoga ka task ya bona ke khupetše mokomišenara wa chief land claims e leng mme Nomfundo Gobodo wa lefapha la rural development and land reform go re fa kgodi e tswang lerotseng.
South Africa was colonized by the Dutch and the British, and really it started there with the arrival of the white colonialists who then started occupying land in South Africa. And the occupation moved from informal occupation to formal occupation, basically. I mean, that is what it's about. It started from the wars of dispossession, where the various tribes were fighting against the English, the Boers, and the whole issue was always about land. They started in Cape of Good Hope and they moved inland. And basically this is what it's about. But in 1913, after the formalization of the Union of South Africa, that's when you actually had now the formalization of the dispossession that was already ongoing. So what the Act does is formalize all of those wars that were happening to say now, okay, formally, black people will no longer own land in South Africa. They will only possess a corner, which was 7% at the time, and later it ended up being 13% of the land in South Africa. So that's why we say that the 1913 Native Land Act, which was passed on the 19th of June, then in 1913, became the cornerstone of segregation.
Melisa o kopana le curator ya Umhlaba exhibition. Exhibition ye e bontšhang diswantšho tšeo di ka lokanago le mathata a naga.
So mawucabanga akhona tinkinga te-land namuhla?
Angithi ngokubona kwami mangibheka eminyakeni esengiyiphilile kusenokukhalaza okuningi kakhulu kubantu ngendaba yomhlaba ngokuthi mawungabheka eduze kwamadolobha amakhulu njengeJohannesburg, Cape Town, uzothola ukuthi abantu bashiya imizi yabo emakhaya ne beze emadrobheni bezofuna umsebenzi and bahlale kuma shacks and kuthi malini izulu kungena amanzi. The best time or the longest days that people live in a year, they live in these shacks. Banamakaya, where they have proper houses, around Cape Town. Find that most of people who live in Khayelitsha, Crossroads, banemizi Eastern Cape, emizi emihle. So somehow uma ngibheka indaba yelento yomhlaba ayikaka addresseki kahle ukuthi abantu bakwazi ukuthi baphile kahle.
Constitutional Hill, Erifa Constitutional Court. This is Johannesburg's notorious Old Fort Prison Complex. Mo boradipolitiki ba bantši ba ile ba golega gona.
Hi, I'm fine. My name is Pius.
I'm Mabel.
Mabel, nice to meet you. Section number 4.
Section number 4.
Yes, which was very infamous with the African male prisoners onto the side. Okay.
Boradipolitiki ba bantši ba go tuma ba ile ba golega go la Old Fort. Ke ra yona number 4. Go balwa bo Mahatma Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, Albert Lutuli le ba bangwe.
So ha re tla mo mo dijo. So re le bontsha gore le dijo tsene ba di thola di le jwang. A gore ke even segregation le tla le mo dijong ka nakong eo. Bona mo motlase. Even long ago, ka 1970, even government ya rona, the former government, ke bona gore ne ba implementa tsona dijo tse gore di fiwa jwa mo bathong. Ka mo le rena le di Christmas treats, dijo tsa Christmas, Makgowa had a choice between puku le pudding.
Wow. So e lo re di inmates ka mona already bane ba fana bane ba ja dijo tse fapaneng.
Tse fapaneng tse sa tshwaneng mama. So o bothola gore ke batho ba bantsho ba tla thola ka Christmas either coffee or tea. So from this point we'll be moving from the side going to that.
Okay, ka leboa.
Go latlhegela ke naga ga thari ntsho. Go ara tatlhegelo ya bophelo bo bobotse. Mmušo wa kgatelelo o ile wa tlosha baso go ba isha mafelong a sa reng selo le metsesetoropong ye sa tlhokomelwego. Mapula a kopana le Jeff Mlaudzi wa Alexandra Bicycle Tours.
So rumile ke spudla.
Yeah, I remember like spudla like because like theme at this season go like find out the Land Act la 1913. So bantu ba Alex go tlhomana history ya Alex or like Alex thomile jwang or like if ebe hona mo ileng ona today.
A utlile mo go shapa too much.
Okay.
Utlile mo go shapa too much. So what rank thing no? Rank bicycle or scooter or
I rank scooter because bicycle like perfect
ka bicycle. Sure. Arzama. So motorbike ke ka montle ke. Arzama so.
Ska ke tima please ke rapela.
Mabel, Melisa le Mapula ba mafelong a go fapafapana ba ithuta ka 1913 Land Act le dikamano tša kua moragonyana.
Okay, so Alexandra ke township ya mathomo ba sala ba botse. Ke township ya maqalo mo Johannesburg. It by thotse ka 1903 1904 ne go qala ba rekisa batho mo Johannesburg. But ne ba rekisa batho ba different. Batho ba ntsho batho ba
like
different races. Then government ne sa batla ntho ne batla batho ba separated. Mara batho ba mo ne ba sa batla total. So government ne batla thola reason gore ntsha batho ka mo e ba ise ko ntle for example mo tlo ba divide ang teng.
Oh yeah.
So ya thola
gore from like Mahwana ali one.
Ke ntho ne ba batla totally. But then ba thola ntho gore ba thotse disease e ba tholang paopone plague. Ba thotse ka mo gare ga go Johannesburg straight go CBD go New Town.
O go New Town.
Ka 1904 the same year even ba rekisa batho ba nthola mo ba thotse disease la go 1912 go paopone plague. So what happened is then the government found a land because they could not take them to Alexandra. It was very mixed. So they found a land in the southwest of the town which was named Soweto. Auswe. So Soweto now rana plague ka se ba ise go Alexandra ka se ba ise kai. So Fire Town for example. So Soweto now where are we going? Ka ba ise go Soweto southwest of the town. So ba ise mo la go south of the town. and then ba divide ka di-culture ba fihla mola ba share place e nyane ba bitsang Middlelands.
O gore ba tsere like Mapedi ba beya kwa Bashangane ba beya kwa
Mavenda Makgowa go setting o bone le kaofela tse ba di divide ka di-culture le race depending ka rona zo go kae.
So mo re yang mo teng re ya to the visitor center gore ke ka nako nngwe ke mo kgonang o thola batjhaki but ka je ko se re transformile into an exhibition mo re bontshang bophelo ba Gandhi le di artifacts gore ke o la tshwarela mo South Africa for how long and o la phela mo for 21 years mo South Africa ka nako eo mo Haremana.
Mahatma Gandhi be le moetapele wa katlego go tokologo ya Great Britain. O ile a phela le go šoma mo South Africa mengwaga ye 21 e le moemedi. Gandhi o ile a swarwa le go golega go la Old Fort ge a be a lwela thulano ya melao ya go feta le non-violent resistance movement ka mo Johannesburg.
So ke na le quote e ke go batla mo bontsha yona e tshong gore a bua ka lerato la gae la South Africa go tshwana le lerato la gae la ko India.
Truly speaking, it was after I went to South Africa that I became what I am now. My love for South Africa and my concern for our problems are no less than for India. Okay, go ahead.
What is an artist or photographer's role in addressing issues like this?
Mangicabanga ama artists abantu abasebenza ngomsebenzi yokudweba uma ubheka imisebenzi eminingi ye art edila ne landscape iyenzwe kakhulu abelungu abafika la eMzansi in the 17th century. Aqala kama artists abantu abamnyama ukuba ama artists in the 30s 40s ukuba be recognized as artists. The challenge for us as the land is being given back to people, the challenge here to as artists and photographers is to support this land being given back by doing things that are going to make a positive input.
Enoch Sontonga, salile whale ka teng, nothing has changed. Nna dula ka mo na renta ntwena but ka 1940 a fitla mo Johannesburg intlo ga ya maqalo ga country. So mona go ke private house now ntlo ona motho o nang ntwena after Mr. Nelson Mandela. So
batho ba nna ka batlonna ka mo ne o ne ke mangtlo e ne se tsenele under the Mandelas or
no ntwena ne unwa ke batho ba go Qoma family. Ka 1930 government they were to demolish every house again. So but the government of France ya demolish ntlo ka fela a ga dintlo mo Alexandra ba di bitsang di bond houses. The bond. So batho ba unang di bond ne ba una yard. Ne ba una ntlo la ka fela le fast le round ntlo. So ba tsang ba rentisa dintlo ka mogare. So Mr. Nelson Mandela na renta ntlo from family ya ka mo. Ntlo ke family ya Qoma.
O ke family ya Qoma.
Qoma ke bona Mr. ke bona ne ba una kreke ka kwa le bona. So ba yeah ke bona feeling Mandela room ina ka mo gore ne ka mo. And then a dula ka mo na bereka as a clerk go law firm go Johannesburg. Na ne ba mo khodisa 2 pounds. Ne re sa bereka di pounds that time. 2 pounds, 1 pounds na patala school fees go vets a complete sekolo sa haya. And then engwe na patala rent. Yeah na patala room ka mo and then na etsa di na reka di jo reka ding ka fela. Mara ke gona mo a ditsing teng a qadeng political life ya gae o iqaletse gona ka mo kontlong yona.
Okay.
Dintlwana tše tša go ithomela mo kgolegong ga dina sephiri le gona di mo go jelwa go gona go hlapiwa ga tee ka beke gantši bagolega ba be ba ganetšwe go hlapa go be go fete dikgwedi tše ntši go tlala kudu le go se tlhweke ga kgolego ye go ile go tlhola bolwetši.
So oswaka ha re tla ka mo ha gore ka nakong eo ke mo ne le hlakanela mo teng as ke tshilo mo dijana dijo tsa lona. But ka nakong eo the bad thing was that di-toilets tse re di bonang ka bo maroon weren't introduced, meaning ne le mokoti o tshwana le di-toilets tse ko magaeng tse ko di-campong a gore keng be ba chipile mokoti ka nakong eo because of overcrowding e qena se blocka ka makaka to see a qeta ya overflow. So
And e overflow e tla mo batho ba dulang teng.
bona mo ba jela mo teng mama
Le mona le space se na ho tloa.
ka o space sona sena mama ntho e gore keng e nka o jwetsa go ne sa leo ne le bote but the rest you could even see go motho o
Motho o
etsa
etsang. Ene wa ja ka nako.
wa ja ka nakong eo. Imagine yourself for jara
Yeah.
365 o ja dijo tsa o se tsa motshegare tsa bosigo.
mona.
So ke that's why batho ba qene se ba kula.
go fihla mola number 4 o le mogolego o bo sa fiwe dijo ge ba o searcha o bo o tlhobola wa šala o le šheleng wa gatelelwa fase selemo le mariga tlaišo e mpie e be e bitswa 1000
It's for life. It's for life.
motsweletši wa nko se sikelele africa Enoch Sontonga o bolokwetše mo dirapeng tša Braamfontein. Melisa o kopana le motlhomphegi Alan Buff wa thušitšeng gore a hwetše lebitla la morena Sontonga.
So tell me, who exactly was Enoch Sontonga?
Enoch Sontonga, he was born in Uitenhage in the Cape Province to a Methodist family. He studied at the Methodist school and he became very interested in religion, the Methodist religion, became a keen photographer, keen organist and a preacher. He was very obscure. People didn't know anything really about him. But until he started writing and composing songs, and then he used to take the children on a Sunday morning to the top of Tababasu, that's the Mountain of Night in Pimville, and he used to be there with the children and start singing. Now if you imagine Soweto, you just picture Soweto looking from the top of that hill. In those early days, there was hardly any houses, and the first one that he ever wrote was Encoh Sontonga, Africa.
Over here behind us, we are in the hostel. The hostel.
And then idea the hostel like it thomile jwang. Yeah.
The hostel, the whole plan was to, in the whole country, the hostel for batho ba berekang. Ka 1930, the government it demolished the ntlo kaofela mo Alexandra and they decided to build the hostel around Alexandra. But ba fedile ba ngwe ba buildile hostel tse 3, 2 for men and 1 for ladies. Tsa banna ke tsona tse 2 tsena and then ya ba sa
Le ka mo hostel ka.
le ka mo ke hostel ka mo morago ga rena ke hostel ya ke no buhle le yona no buhle ya ena
Ke a banna ke basadi.
ke a banna no se tse go le family unit yona
Why ba namile after a lady?
no buhle
Yeah.
ka re no tlo galla mosadi ka o dula mona okay so no ne le ntle too much so no sna basadi so the baby no buhle ne ke le ntle o feta ke hostel ka ofela.
Okay, government ne try achievang e ba demolisha di houses and then ba aga di hostel.
The whole purpose ya gore ba aga di hostel ko gore ba control batho ba mo Alexandra ba mo Johannesburg. So the whole purpose ya hostel ke to control a living style of urban black people. So everyone go Cape Town or anywhere ne ba was the hostel gore ba kgona go control
Or like ne banya ka o le go ba kgona ba control because like e ba nna go di different like ne ba se kgona ba control.
a ula go ntlong ya ga so control mara o le go ntlong ya tla control. That's why government ya khile di hostel.
Mo re bontsha gore ne ba rola jwang. So re bontsha gore ne ba rola jwang bontate ba and also how they were divided mama. So what also would happen elsewhere ke gore sele ne tshwanetse nke batho ba 30 e qene seng ka batho ba 60 sometimes even up to 90. So overcrowding nearly problem. So baba bitsa di sardines. Why ne baba bitsa di sardines? Because ba robetse head to toe like the sardines.
Okay.
Yes, that's why baba bitsa jwang. Okay.
I heard an interesting story about you finding his grave. May you tell us more about that?
Yes, basically I did find the grave and we're standing right on the site here. The major challenge in finding the grave basically was this particular cemetery was built in 1888 Enoch Sontonga died in 1905. So when we had to actually find the grave itself, we had to remap this whole area. We actually went as far as having an infrared photograph taken so we could actually see the individual graves on the area. Once we had that information, we were able to pinpoint the roads, the avenues, and the distances between the graves. Once we did that, it showed us the starting point, which was on this corner here. Once we had the starting point, I then measured off, and I got hold of the archaeological department again and said, please, let us dig here. This is exactly the spot where I think that Enoch Sontonga is buried. I said, and when you dig down here, you're going to find an adult grave. And you'll also find a portion of the foundation, or the foundations, or a tombstone. Because Enoch Sontonga, his family, had the grave declared a private rights, which mean that they could have an actual tombstone put up. Once we'd done that, and we started digging, we found it was an adult grave. And yes, we found the foundations, or portions of the foundations, of a tombstone.
Thank you for educating me about this place, and I had a good time.
Pleasure. All the very best, and I'm glad you learned something about South African history.
Did.
Goodbye.
I did.
Goodbye now.
I learned a lot.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, Lebotole ke le divide Alexandra from the industry. For example, no so allowed to rotle ka mo o control ka di olden days. If ke boma 10 o'clock, no sorry me le go tla ka once jambela ka mo go sorry mo go tsaya.
Ha ke lebella go fase kwa like bona like the RDP je dintshi so ne le part of like the renewal house ya mo Alex.
Yeah. Ki part ya Alexandra renewal project, government if le Alexandra renewal project chelete ngata gore ba kgone go improve Alexandra.
Okay, ke batla le ba like information plan yona ka Alex le the toy yo ntse yona around Alex, then we explain la ka history Alex. So ke a lebo because no ke na le knowledge or Alex e tswa kae then lore e ya kae no. So ke a lebo.
What's your range ke mina?
Thank you. Hi.
Peace, happiness and respect.
Oh, okay.
Now, as a Retla Mama, US gave the new constitutional court, the highest one in our country. So, as ubona, kama lema kaofela ngwetsi that is constitutional court. Plus, the sign language and also braille. The sign language mo, and then mo to handling renale braille. If you ukatla mo pile ke tlo bontsha yona mama. So, the braille is right here. So yes, why renale braille? There was a former Chief Justice Jacob, who was actually blind because he had meningitis, which attacks his eyes.
Okay.
So na sebedisa braille to read some of the court documents. To be with me, and I hope you had a lovely day and enjoyed it.
Yeah, Geleboha, I learned a lot from you. So basically, thank you for touring me around.
All right.
George Orwell gantšha se mafatlheng a gagwe a re go nyako bolaya setšhaba rothotha o bolae setšo sa bona ga gona re ka tšwela pele re sa tsebe gore maropeng mo re tswang gona ke kae ke tshepa re le wena kua gae o tla botšiša gore history ya mo o dulang gona ke efeng o ka tšhoga seo ka se hwetšang bjale ka ge šetse re tlhotlhetše batšeakarolo ba rena ka thuto ya lefase bjale a re bone gore beketlang ba ka ntšha di-cutex tša bona ba šoma na latlhelela bofofu king ke setlogolo sa barolong ke yana sepotla se bogodi
Discovering the extraordinary and the ordinary.